Versatile Mage. Chapter 521. The Undead Burial Mount. Mo Fan was a grassroots magician and had not joined any faction so far. As a result, when he learned from Dean Seo that he had a spot in the World College Tournament, he did not show any reaction. Later, as the selection for the World College Tournament began, he finally realized how incredible it was to be selected as a provisional candidate. The opportunity was priceless. Mo Fan, who was still climbing his way up the ranking, suddenly found himself being flattered, yet he was feeling more worry than joy. However, he was someone who took things as they came. Despite the noise around him, he continued to focus on his cultivation. After defeating the 10th-ranked Ding Yumian, he now had the chance to cultivate for 7 days in the 3-step tower every month. His summoning element was still at the first level, so the energy available to feed the kid was nowhere near enough. He had to improve it to the next level so the energy was sufficient to feed his little flame bell. Once his little flame bell grew up, would Mo Fan still need to care about the envy and mockery of others? He would simply let the little flame bell bite whoever doubted him. Those idiots, not focusing on their cultivation but defaming him instead, were just jealous because he was making a living off his face. Mo Fan did not care too much about the nonsense. He stayed well behaved at school and focused on improving his cultivation. There were many students in the school who had half their foot into the advanced level. Meanwhile, the threshold of the advanced level was still not within his reach. How long would it take for him to become an advanced magician, gaining him access to the stronger advanced spells? As autumn arrived, the winds in the middle region of China began to chill. The area within 100 kilometers of the ancient capital was covered in withered grass. The whole place looked dull over its vast area, with not a hint of color. The ancient capital was covered in a mix of gray, brown, and copper tones. Some of the brighter structures were glossed over. The city had paths leading straight to the center, each widening as it approached the center, radiating symmetrically from the clock tower. The Magic Association of the ancient capital was established in the clock tower. The location of the Magic Association was always a landmark for each city, or more precisely, the landmarks were always occupied by the Magic Association. As a result, the ancient capital still had a huge population crowding its streets. The Hunter Union was located at the Drum Tower, only 1,000 meters away from the Magic Association. The two towers stood by one another across the distance, like two giant statues guarding the city. The military's camp was outside of the city. There were many threats in the vicinity of the ancient capital. The world-famous Undead Burial Mount and the demon beasts in Qinling Mountains had kept the entire city on its toes for generations. It was said that whether in the city or outside it, one would surely find corpses after digging 100 meters into the ground. Corpses were not a problem since they were only the remains of warriors who had died in battles in ancient times. The problem were those clinging to the past despite having turned into skeletons. The undead had no memory of their past, nor did they have consciences. They merely had savagery similar to beasts and a natural instinct to kill. They would lunge crazily at anything alive within a certain distance. As such, the Hunter Union, Magic Association, and army were entrusted with an eternal mission, to help the undead with their transgressions. Zhang Xiaohou left Shanghai in a hurry. As soon as he arrived at the headquarters in Lintong, he was immediately sent out on an annihilation mission. It had been a while since Zhang Xiaohou was sent to the middle region for training. He was responsible for surveillance, learning from the experienced soldiers, and focusing on improving his cultivation. Even though the army did send him on a few missions, none of them were particularly difficult. Zhang Xiaohou received orders as soon as he landed. It was a rescue operation to retrieve a scouting squad stranded in Xianqi. The squad had departed around half a month ago to investigate some restless recent activity in Xianqi. In addition to checking out the rate of growth of the undead, they were also ordered to evacuate the remaining villages around the area. The people living in this region shared the same land as the undead. Even though they were not magicians, they had their own traditional ways of avoiding contact with the undead. Some of the fearless tribes even relied on the land of the undead to keep their villages going. It was not rare to find these tribes in the current era, some of which had existed for almost 1,000 years. The undead was just like ordinary beasts to these tribes. With the right methods, even if the undead were extremely savage and killed anything in sight, the people were able to guarantee their own safety. Lately, the odd behavior of the drifting sand river had somehow triggered a weird trend. The creatures sleeping under the ground had been quite active during the past month. Being more active resulted in more killing. The weird behavior of the drifting sand river somehow made the land of the undead lose its usual calm. Many of the villages that had relied on the traditional methods to live among the undead had faced utter destruction. 4 of them had been wiped off the map during this period. The Magic Association and Hunter Union were treating the matter with extreme care. They immediately sent out people to investigate. Once they analyzed the situation and determined it to be dangerous, they would immediately evacuate the villages nearby. However, the scouting squad had discovered a weird wind sweeping the area around Xianqi. Despite being sent to investigate the place and evacuate the villages, they suddenly went missing in action. Even though Zhang Xiaohe was being sent on a rescue operation, the squad had already been missing for almost 2 months. Basically, the rescue team's job was to verify the cause of death of the squad, retrieve their corpses, and report back to the Magic Association and Hunter Union. What are our superiors thinking, sending us off on an operation like this? We're asked to look for a scouting squad that's been missing over 2 months. What were they doing earlier? Cursed the team's scout, Wang Tong. Zhang Xiaohu's team consisted of 9 people. Unlike the usual structure of a team led by a commander, it was more like a spec ops team. The team was formed by outstanding soldiers entrusted to carry out difficult missions, like special forces. Everyone in the team was capable of being a commander. The team had 2 scouts responsible for scouting the path ahead, luring the demon beasts away, and disrupting their enemies' groups. Zhang Xiaohe was one of the scouts, and Wang Tong was the other. Wang Tong and Zhang Xiaohe were ahead of the rest of the team. Wang Tong was full of complaints. He had been swearing non-stop to Zhang Xiaohe since the team departed. Qin Hu is definitely enjoying himself on the Heavenly Eagle. He doesn't even need to talk, said Wang Tong, raising his head and glancing at the snowy white Heavenly Eagle soaring above them. Qin Hu was the team's captain and commander, who was also a Heavenly Eagle battle mage. The others had no choice but to walk, while he was able to ride the Heavenly Eagle. Stop talking, or you can tell the superior that you want to quit and are willing to bear the punishment. Otherwise, you should just focus on completing the mission instead of talking non-stop, Zhang Xiaohe said. I just like to grumble. If I don't grumble for a day, I'll feel extremely uncomfortable. Protested Wang Tong. Chapter N. Versatile Mage. Chapter 522. Read across the map. Hello, brother Fan. You're asking about Boss San Kong. I don't know either. I had completely forgotten about him if you hadn't mentioned him. I haven't heard from him for a long time. I'm in the middle of a mission, so I won't be able to contact him for some time, but I heard that he went missing after returning to Bo City with the Darkwing Wolf's head. Alright, I'll call you immediately if I hear anything from him, but I will be on a mission for some time. I don't know when I'll be back at headquarters. How's the Flame Bell doing? I'm fine. I'm the best at running in the whole team. How could I possibly not outrun my enemy if I can't beat them in a fight? We're all soldiers, so none of us will desert the others. Those who manage to make it back safely will report on the situation back to headquarters. Even if the others are dead, I'll still be fine. Zhang Xiaohe was talking to Mo Fan with his earpiece. They had not arrived at the area around Xianqi yet, thus they were not required to stay on high alert. After hanging up on the call, Wang Tong glanced at him with a gloomy look and blurted out unpleasantly, "Who were you cursing to be dead? I can guarantee that if someone's going to lose their life on this mission, it will be you for sure." He, I was just using it as an example, said Zhang Xiaoho, scratching his head. You can't even use it as an example. Who's the guy on the phone? I heard you call him brother. Didn't you say you're an only child? Wang Tong continued on with the conversation in boredom. We grew up on the same street. He's just like my brother, looking after me since I was little, even now, said Zhang Xiaoho. You're a soldier, talented among the intermediate magicians. Why do you sound like you're still a kid being looked after? Said Wang Tong. He's a lot stronger than me. All right, we've got plenty of those talented maniacs in the army, yet none of them were able to clean up these filthy things. The 9-man team gradually made their way toward Xianqi. Xianqi was merely the name of a place where there were rarely any plants on the surface. The soil was soft, and usually covered in thin white sand. The white sand was in fact the dust from corpses that had undergone long exposure to the sun and wind. It looked exactly the same as salt sprinkled over the ground. The locals did not call it salt literally, but referred to the place as the salty land. Xianqi was the land between the Qinling Mountains and Xi'an territory. Since the place was slightly sunken, it looked like a pond on the map, hence it was called Xianqi, Salty Pond. A lengthy safe zone was constructed along the northeast border of Xianqi. Usually, the safe zone mostly consisted of boundaries set up with fortresses, depots, watchtowers, and supply stations, with cooperation between the army, hunters, and magic association guarding the boundary. However, the demon beasts in the vicinity of the ancient capital were fairly different, so the safe zone of the ancient capital was not very stable, only consisting of a long wall around the boundary area. The wall, constructed by earth magicians, served as a layer of defense. As the walls were moved around quite often according to the activity of the undead, some of the villages that were initially within the safe zone would suddenly be excluded from it at times. If a village was located along the coastline in the south or north, it was extremely dangerous to be outside of the safe zone. The village would be trampled to ashes within a few years, leaving not a single survivor behind. Meanwhile, the villages located on the edge around the ancient capital had the unique methods of avoiding the undead. Hence, there were still villages outside of the safe zone, quite a lot of them, actually. These villages were commonly referred to as the villages of miracles by the magic associations in other countries, since the villages were utterly fearless, living outside of the safe zone. Our first destination is here, the Sunny Goat Village. It's located around the foothills of the Qinling Mountains, with around 30 villages. Captain Qin, who had come down from the sky holding a seemingly new map in his hand. It was extremely important to get their hands on the latest maps if possible, as only the new maps contained information about the recent changes to the landscape in the area. The name of the village sounds quite cheerful, said the naughty kid in the team, Lu Hongjing. Enough with the nonsense, Qin, who straightened his face, not giving the others a chance to comment. The Sunny Goat Village is around 4 kilometers away from here. The sun is setting soon. Shouldn't we think of a plan? Proposed the female battle mage in the team, Shi Xiaoju. Let's go straight to the village. I don't think it's that complicated. Are you telling me we can't handle a bunch of weaklings? We'll just kill every single one of them when they appear, said Lu Hongjing. Don't be naive. Did you forget that this place has already been inspected before? It's categorized as an orange zone. Qin, who was obviously a cautious leader, and immediately spoke up sternly when he saw his team dropping the guard. It's just an orange zone. I spent lots of time roaming the red zones, interrupted Wang Tong. The people of the Hunter Union were in charge of discovering the distribution of the demon beasts in the area, and tagged the areas with different colors to represent the density of demon beasts. The higher the density of demon beasts in the area, the stronger the color used to tag it. The colors started from white to orange, then red, and finally black, correlating to the color of alerts. Green was used to tag the areas in a safe zone. White meant there were only a few demon beasts roaming in the area. An orange zone implied that there were packs of demon beasts residing in the area, so it belonged to a dangerous zone. Only experienced hunters, special squads, and powerful magicians were allowed to enter the area. Red, or simply a blood-colored zone, represented death. It was extremely easy to be flanked by packs of demon beasts, as the number of demon beasts in the area was like a surging tide. There was still purple between red and black. A red zone referred to a kingdom of demon beasts. Even super magicians had no chance of making it back alive from a purple zone. As for a black zone, any life form was forbidden within it. No one had ever gone to a black zone before, and it seemed like even the demon beasts did not dare to enter one, either. Green, white, orange, red, purple, black. There were 6 colors in total, and the last 4 correlated to the 4 types of alerts. The red alert that Bo City was placed under was the 2nd level alert for a city. The ancient capital was located near the Kingdom of Undead, hence it was the city with the most alerts raised in the entire country. The alert was so common to the residents of the city that it was simply treated as an alarm to wake them up every morning. Those who were drinking tea continued to enjoy their tea, those gossiping continued to gossip, and those who were responsible for protecting the city made their way to the battlefield. That being said, due to the unique traits of the region, when the sun was high up in the sky, the electronic map only displayed green and white zones, and occasionally an orange zone when the beasts from Chinling Mountains got lost and trespassed into the zone. However, as soon as the sun set into the horizon, when the light protecting the land was withdrawn, all the zones across the map, apart from the safe zone of the ancient capital, were turned entirely red. Once night fell, humans no longer reigned across the land. Currently, the special team from Lintong headquarters was outside of the safe zone. The final glimpse of sunlight had disappeared, leaving the scent of death lingering in the air nearby. A strange noise was heard coming from under the white-covered ground. It sounded like someone munching on something, or something beating. Zhang Xiaohe was the first person to step into the land of the undead. He was extremely nervous, his alert scanning his surroundings. All of a sudden, pairs of dried, rotten arms poked out from the ground and began to wave and grab wildly in the air less than 5 meters away from him. Chapter End. Versatile Mage. Chapter 523. Ambushed by the Walking Dead. My leg, my leg. Someone suddenly screamed. The cry of agony echoed in the darkness that had just descended. Zhang Xiaohe turned around and saw Lu Hongjing standing on a pile of rotten arms that clung tightly to his legs. The hands grabbing his feet were as strong as steel, completely restricting his movement. The rotten hands and claws scratched and tore at Lu Hongjing's legs. One of the starving corpses sprang from the ground and bit into his hamstring. The group couldn't react in time. By the time they realized they needed to save him, all that remained under Lu Hongjing's knees were bloody white bones. He fell backward in excruciating pain. "Don't fall," yelled Captain Qin Hu. Once Lu Hongjing hit the ground, he would be reduced to a pile of bones. The bites and scratches of the corpses were faster than a school of piranhas. Earth Wave. Zhang Xiaohe was the first to react. He quickly cast the spell. He manipulated the soil around and used the second characteristic of the flowing mud to turn soft soil into solid rock. The flowing mud could transform soil into swamp or quicksand to trap targets and restrict movement. Reversed, it hardened soil into rock. Zhang Xiaohe forcibly turned the ground under Lu Hongjing into solid rock, trapping the claws of the corpses and stopping them from moving freely. His Earth Seed was extremely effective in this situation. The claws attacked the newly hardened soil instead of Lu Hongjing. He finally reached his limit and fell, but luckily on the solidified soil. Otherwise, he would have died instantly. "Save him," Qin Hu ordered Wang Tong. Wang Tong hesitated for a moment, then dashed to Lu Hongjing. The flesh below Lu Hongjing's knees was gone, leaving only bones. Wang Tong immediately carried him back to the team. The cries of the undead, their mouths sounding as if filled with soil, rose again. Their bloodshot eyes glared at the 9 living humans. The scent of blood had driven them berserk, and they were eager to rise from the ground and feast. The buried undead mostly looked human. The ancient capital had experienced countless dynasties and wars between humans and demon beasts. Human deaths far outnumbered those of demon beasts. With so many deaths, the ground itself was saturated with a deathly aura nurturing the dead. Once night fell, the undead would rise like shoots of fertilized plants. Even if destroyed, they would return with the next season. Due to an unknown curse on the land, both demon beasts and humans would resemble humans after turning undead. Even if their bones were from demon beasts, they would rearrange into a humanoid skeleton. Some appeared as beasts with rotten bodies and human heads, or grotesque combinations of multiple corpses. The undead the group had encountered so far all appeared human. It was likely because the villagers who had died recently enriched the soil. As soon as their new bodies formed, they immediately burst out and attacked. "Kid, nice reaction speed. You saved this overconfident guy," Qin Hu said to Zhang Xiaohou. Zhang Xiaohou forced a smile. It was all possible thanks to the earth seed he had acquired at Zizhao Valley, flowing mud, which could suppress anything emerging from the ground. "Let's move forward. We'll be safer once we reach Sunny Goat Village." These things surprised us by appearing before complete darkness. "Perhaps the thick death aura blocked the remaining sunlight," said the female battle mage, Shi Xiaoju. The team had no healer, so the others wrapped Lu Hongjiang's legs to stop the bleeding. He had lost a significant amount of blood, so it was crucial to treat his wounds quickly. The serums they had would only help him survive a little longer. If they delayed, he could die from blood loss or the undead's poison. "I'll lead the way," volunteered Zhang Xiaohou bravely. "All right, your soul seed can slow them when they try to rise." "Holy crap, so many undead are heading toward us. Why are there so many? Even a red zone wouldn't have this many at nightfall. It's probably because many people died nearby recently." The team quickly prepared. Although ambushed, everyone calmed down and began drawing star patterns beneath their feet. Energies of ice, fire, lightning, and wind elements lunged at the filthy creatures, obliterating them. Forest of Kun. Shi Xiaoju, a plant magician, cast an intermediate plant spell to entrap a dozen walking corpses blocking the path. Branches from the Forest of Kun immediately wrapped the undead in a thick cage. The undead had limited intelligence and tried to bite anything nearby, creating a bizarre scene reminiscent of Plants vs. Zombies. The difference was that these zombies were not adorable. They chewed humans into bones, as Lu Hongjing had already experienced. "Let's go, we can't kill them all," yelled Shi Xiaoju, seeing the team still attempting to fight. The team withdrew their spells and followed Zhang Xiaohou. As Zhang led the way, the soil beneath him hardened instantly, preventing anyone from being dragged under again. They were still 4 kilometers from the village. Moving at full speed, they should reach it safely. The villagers had their ways of avoiding the undead. Once they reached the village, they could escape being surrounded. Chapter N. Versatile Mage. Chapter 524. Hatchet Corpse General. Magic Vine. Entangle. Shi Xiaoju's hands moved with agility, summoning flexible vines that instantly twisted into sturdy ropes, entangling the legs of the giant creature before her. They were still far from the village, and the zombies had surrounded them. The squad of 9 was fighting for their lives. The enormous creature leading the zombies had a body resembling a giant ox. Rotten flesh fell from its body, from which wriggling, plague-bearing worms crawled toward the soldiers. The magic vines trapped the creature's legs, but its hatchet-like arms hacked wildly. The impact almost cracked the ground open. Brown rock barriers had been established around the soldiers in an arc to protect them, but the situation looked grim. Numerous undead were breaking through the barrier to reach their prey. Their sharp claws sliced through the stone as if it were mud. Some even slammed their skulls into the barrier, scattering their brains, but their claws kept digging through. Zhang Xiaohu's forehead was slick with sweat. He had faced many kinds of demon beasts before, savage, cunning, cold-blooded, but this was his first encounter with a demented horde of walking corpses. These corpses had no sense of pain, consciousness, or fear. They simply chased and tore apart any living creature nearby. Their only weakness was sunlight, but night had just fallen. By morning, the group would only grow larger. What should we do? If these things break through our defense, we'll be slaughtered by that giant corpse, yelled Wang Tong. Similar to demon beasts, the undead were classified into servant class, warrior level, commander level, and ruler level. The undead attacking them were common zombies, dead for less than 10 years. Their buried bodies had not fully rotted. Zombie undead were the lowest rank, servant class, but their overwhelming numbers made them extremely dangerous. They always attacked in groups. Within these groups, the ones buried longer and nourished by the essence of death evolved into generals. The huge creature with the ox-like body, tiny head, and hatchet-like limbs was a notorious corpse general. Categorized as warrior level, it was stronger than ordinary warrior level demon beasts. Normally, damaging a demon beast affected its speed, movement, or attacks. Critical hits could weaken them or force retreat. But the undead could not be injured in the usual sense. Even when spells tore through abdomens or blasted limbs, they remained mobile as long as energy remained in their body parts. Even a severed arm would rise and grab prey. A corpse general could take on 3 warrior-level demon beasts simultaneously. This particular corpse general was superior, nurtured in the land for over 10 years. Fighting it was tantamount to death. Even if they killed it, the horde of hundreds of zombies surrounding them would finish the group. They had no choice but to run. Sunny Goat Village was just over a kilometer away. From the hill ahead, they could see the village's wooden fences. Escape was their only option. Sink, you bastards. Flowing mud. Earth wave. Zhang Xiaohu's hands glowed brown. He channeled the spell, stacking multiple earth spells before slamming the energy into the ground. The soil around them became slimy, some forming whirlpool-like shapes. Anything standing on the mud would sink, simulating quicksand. A huge number of zombies were now half submerged. When Zhang arrived at the ancient capital, he sold the diamond he found at Burning Valley and bought an earth element magic tool. It allowed him to stack his basic earth spell before releasing it, multiplying the effect of earth wave. Although it took longer to channel, it was more effective than casting the same spell repeatedly. The earth wave of flowing mud had a shocking effect. Many zombies sank into the mud, and Zhang immediately hardened the ground, preventing them from rising again. The zombies were now stuck with half their bodies above ground and half below, unable to move. The group rejoiced, but Shi Xiaoju screamed, "Run, quick!" The corpse general had broken through the last line of defense. Due to its size, the muck from flowing mud barely covered its ankles. Even when hardened, it could still move freely. Blood splattered as its hatchets swung wildly. The soldiers had no choice but to use the chaos to escape down the hill. The furious roar of the hatchet corpse general rose behind them. A chill ran down their spines as its gust swept past. No one dared turn around. They could only run as fast as possible. Under the moonlight, black shadows charged toward them with hungry cries. Unlike slow-moving zombies in movies, both the corpse general and the zombies were extremely fast while their legs were intact. Without movement spells or boots equipment, even a magician at full speed could be caught. The jumping ability was shocking. Even servant-class zombies could leap over 10 meters. The undead chasing the group sprinted and leaped like wild beasts. Ah! A painful screech came from behind. Someone had been caught by the undead. Forget them. Otherwise, our whole squad will be wiped out, ordered Captain Chin Hu mercilessly. The group dared not look back. They could only hope the caught person was not a friend. She's not dead yet. Zhang Xiaohu turned and saw it was the other battlemaga in the group, Jia Shi. Jia Shi was entangled by the corpse general's long tongue. As an ice magician, she had barely sealed the corpse general's movement with ice lock, otherwise, it would have swallowed her whole. Chapter End. Versatile Mage. Chapter 525. The Strange Village. Idiot, don't go, Wang Tong yelled at Zhang Xiaohu. However, Zhang Xiaohou had already stepped on the emergency brake and turned around to save Jia Shi. The battlemage struggled to break free. The corpse general had shattered her ice chains to pieces. As the ice was still scattering in the air, the corpse general dashed toward the battlemage like a runaway car. Jia Shi uttered a prayer. When she saw Zhang Xiaohou turning around to save her, she barely showed a change of expression. As she reached out her hand for Zhang Xiaohou to pull her away, the enormous creature withdrew its tongue and dragged her through the air, right toward its murderous mouth. The corpse general bit down greedily, as if it were munching on a juicy fruit. Bright red liquid sprayed through the air. A few drops of blood landed on Zhang Xiaohou's face. His eyes widened as his face filled with disbelief. "Run, you idiot!" Wang Tong's voice entered Zhang Xiaohou's ears. As he collected his thoughts, he saw the corpse general's bloodshot eyes fixed on him. Sorry, mumbled Zhang Xiaohou softly as he summoned a gust of wind under his feet, carrying him into the distance like an arrow being fired. Zhang Xiaohou was extremely fast. The hatchet corpse general had no chance of catching him. Meanwhile, the zombies flanking him from other directions were unable to predict his path. Before the walking corpses could totally surround him, Zhang Xiaohou had already broken through with wind track and caught up to the team. "Wipe it off," Shi Xiaoju handed a handkerchief to Zhang Xiaohou. Zhang Xiaohou did not take it. He wiped his face with his sleeves. The fresh blood of Jia Shi was all over them. Zhang Xiaohou had never even had the chance to talk to her. "I thought you'd already gotten used to this, based on your outstanding performance. I assumed you would abandon those that are impossible to save. It was very likely that you would pay with your life by turning around there. The squads here are different from the squads from other places. You should abandon those who are trapped by the undead. Turn around, and you'll put the entire squad in danger." The Captain Qin Hu came over and glanced down at Zhang Xiaohou, who was taking his rest on the ground. Zhang Xiaohou remained silent. He was indeed a transfer student, from the south to the middle region, the ancient capital. "Don't do something stupid like that next time, and don't disobey the orders given to you," said Qin Hu. Zhang Xiaohou was still silent, still not reconciled to the death of his comrade. If he could have acted quicker, he might have had a chance of saving her before she was dragged away by the corpse general. "There's no sign of the undead nearby. Sunny Goat Village is just ahead. I can see their fences," said Wang Tong. "All right, let's head to the village at once." Sunny Goat Village was only a few kilometers away from the Qinling Mountains, located in the foothills of the infamous mountain range. The village was not big, constructed along a river flowing down from the mountain. The structures were basically made of wood. It felt like the squad had gone back in time the moment they set foot into the village. There was no sign of magic technology that had been developed in the past century. No streetlights, no electrical wires, even the mobile reception here was close to zero. Demon beasts are quite sensitive toward our technology. Perhaps the village has banned it so they won't attract the demon beasts and undead here, the observant Shi Xiaoju quickly conjectured as they entered the village. The village was extraordinarily quiet at night. Not a single lamp was lit. The only source of light was the dull yellow moon, hanging high up in the sky. The group could hear the sound of the river clearly. The village was deadly silent. It did not look like someone lived here. "You guys, remove everything you shouldn't be bringing with you before entering the village. That includes any trace of blood on you," said an aged voice from the guard tower at the entrance of the village. The guard tower was manned every night, as a safety precaution. "Old man, we're soldiers from Lintong headquarters. We were ambushed by the undead along the way here. We've already got casualties and injured with us. Please let us enter the village, so we can attend to our comrades," said Shi Xiaoju to the old man guarding the village. "Which is why I say, throw away everything you shouldn't be bringing in. It will bring bad luck and disaster to our village," insisted the old man. The group looked at one another. They had no choice but to comply. "That thing too. It's the only communication device for us to contact the headquarters. It's specially designed. It won't attract the attention of demon beasts, said Chin Hu. No way, otherwise, you won't be entering the village. Just follow his instructions. There's a reason they're able to live among the undead for so many years, said Shi Xiaoju. The group immediately removed all their communication devices. The old man simply set the pile on fire, leaving the group with dull looks on their faces. Now that they had lost their communication devices, no one would know if the entire squad was wiped out in the end. It seemed like the scouting squad was told to come to this village too. If their communication devices were destroyed too, it would be a miracle if they did not go missing. All right, come in. The journey here looked tough, judging from your looks and injuries. Clean yourself up at the river. Oh, try not to go upstream. We still want to drink the water, said the old man. The old man brought the group of 8 to the back of the village. The village was not huge, possibly smaller than a villa owned by a wealthy person. It only took them 10 minutes to reach the back of the village. The village was quiet, and they had yet to see anyone apart from the old man. They began to feel uneasy. The whole area is occupied by the undead, yet the village is located right in the center of it. On top of that, I haven't seen anything alive in this place. Is this actually a ghost town? It makes sense that the undead are not interested in the dead, whispered Wang Tong to Zhang Xiaoho. Enough, the villagers are most likely asleep. This place has no television, no phones, no internet. What can they possibly do apart from sleeping? Said Zhang Xiaoho. Oh, you're right about that. By the way, the old man has just burned my kidney 6 too. I should have sent my missus a message before entering the village, so she won't think that I'm dead here. What a pity. Zhang Xiaoho rolled his eyes, not wanting to waste his time talking to Wang Tong. He proceeded to study the village. Speaking of which, Sunny Goat Village looked just like a normal village with a primitive lifestyle. However, he did discover a strange sight. Each of the wooden huts was decorated with a stalk of dog's paw. Dog's paw was its common name. Its real name was the ash plum flower. Zhang Xiaoho had only learned about the ash plum flower after he came to the ancient capital. For some reason, he felt like he had seen the ash plum flower before. Chapter end. Please guys like, comment, share, and subscribe.